I guess maybe we should touch on what an art director is before we go any further.
Mm, okay, yeah.
Could you define an art director specifically in the ad industry in like two sentences or three
hmm
sentences?
Ooh. Ooh, in three sentences, that would be hard. Okay. So, an art director's job is to be a conceptual thinker and come up with ideas. And then from there, think through and work through all the visual solves and how to bring that to life and direct a team of professionals who are much better at your job than you are to help bring that vision to life, whether that be graphic designers, wardrobe directors, things like that.
All right, hey everyone, welcome to The Creatives. I am your host, James Glover, and on today's episode, we have Lauren Meadows. She is an award-winning senior art director at Barkley and the co-founder of The Workshop, which we will get into later. Her work has been in Adweek, The One Club, Art Directors Club, and more. She's based out of Kansas City, Missouri. Hi, Lauren, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great, James. Thank you.
Of
What a lovely
course.
intro.
I did sneak on your LinkedIn like 5 minutes before, and I was like, I gotta make a little like make a little intro.
It was perfect.
Thank you. Um, so I guess kind of to start out, how did you get into art direction?
Yeah. So for me, I grew up in like small towns in East Texas and then eventually moved to Birmingham, Alabama, where the ad scene is not huge there. Like the most kind of ads that I'd ever seen were, personal injury billboards on the highway. So it's not anything, it's not like when you roll up and you see all this crazy, beautiful, award winning work that, now in the industry we're so used to seeing. I was not familiar with that kind of stuff. So I had no idea that advertising and art direction was even a thing, even a career path. Didn't even know it existed. And so I got to college. I went to the University of Alabama. And really, I was just kind of there because I wanted to stay in state because of just, money reasons. It's so expensive, obviously, to go to college, very privileged. But I also just needed to make sure I graduated on time. And I wanted something that would be a very stable job because I just wanted a stable income to feel secure in that way. So I was like, I like being creative, but you're always taught all your life, no, you can't find stability in being a creative. So I was like, just never even had that in my brain. And so I started taking some communications classes and still couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And I took advertising 101, and two professors came into that class and they were presenting this portfolio program that you could apply to. And it was a brand new program. It would only be in its second year. And that's where they introduced me to creative advertising. They're like, this is how cool ads can be. Like they can look like this, they can be this. You learn what a copywriter is, what an art director is. And I was like, had never heard those terms before. And they just kept, pitching this course to us. And I was like, wow, this sounds really interesting. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I might as well apply to this. And if I get in, I'll just take that as a sign. This is what I should, go forth and do. And so I applied and I got in. And that's where, again, I just really started to learn about all these things. And, we took our concepting class where you do both copywriting and art direction. And that's kind of where you're figuring out, okay, where does my strong suit lie? Like, am I a writer? Am I an art director? And so obviously ended up becoming an art director. That was just something that I just fell in love with. I've always loved all things, just visual and art in that way. And so it just kind of it was perfect for me. And so that's how I learned about art direction in advertising. And then there, did that course and did internships and, did full-time jobs. And now I'm a senior art director, which is crazy.
That's
Because
so
again, I never thought
crazy.
I would get here. And it's a great career and it's super stable as well. So-and-so. Sometimes the advertising industry is a little volatile, but all in all, very
For
stable creative job.
Yeah, I was gonna say for a creative job, that's very stable.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
oh my gosh, what was my question? So you learned from like a very like institutional way, like through school and everything like that.
Mhm.
Um, what did they have you do in, I guess, advertising, like creative industry, like in the class? Like what was it like
Yeah.
you would make your own ads and stuff like that? Like how was that process?
Yeah. So the portfolio program that I was a part of it was a little unique. It was a little more scrappy. So most of the time when you think of portfolio schools, those are those schools, kind of like a trade school that is, outside of, a university. It's a separate institution where that is all you're doing and you're focusing on that. And what our program was, it was kind of a marriage between the two, where you would go to portfolio schools, you would have some of that similar structure as an ad school, but you would be doing it while you're an undergrad. So you're still, doing your English classes and your math classes and all that on top of learning about advertising and building a portfolio and all that. So it's a little bit of a kind of a hybrid structure, and we were very scrappy because we were very small. It was when I first started, it was only two professors teaching the entire thing, teaching concepting,
Wow.
copywriting, art direction, and then like advanced portfolio. It was all on them. And then later on, one of those professors left and became just one professor
Wow. Oh my
teaching.
gosh.
Yes, all of that. We had two cohorts at the time. So there was an older cohort and then my cohort as well. So he was doing all of
Wow.
that. And so, yeah, it was really interesting. And it's crazy because again, we learned a lot of those things that you do in portfolio school. Like we start out, your first kind of class that you take is concepting. So all is you're on your own and you will have three projects that you'll work on that semester. And so you write your own brief. So you find three things that you want to make ads about. We tried to do like CPGs and, break it up to where you're doing kind of like a service, CPG. I'm blanking on what the third one is, but so you would write your own brief, you find your own insights, you dig into you would go look at your competitors, you do all that on your own. And then throughout the semester, you worked on those ads. And so you would concept, you do your thumbnails, you would present your work to class, roughs, and you'd be honing in your skills on these three different products. And then at the end of the semester, again, because we were an interesting program, we really wanted to focus and learn the skill of concepting. That was like the main core. Like our professors really believe like if you have the creative brain to concept and that is really strong, then all the rest you can learn and kind of will fall into place. And you can go watch YouTube videos to learn how to Photoshop and
Right,
things like
right.
that. But thinking is a really hard skill to kind of learn, especially in advertising, the way we kind of have to use our brains and shift some of the thinking around. And so at the end of the semester, when we would execute our work, we would do it all by hand so that you weren't even worried about the programs, weren't worried about how to get in Photoshop and make your thing come to life. You would just take a colored pencil and you would hand do it. But these
Wow.
were no like stick figure kind of things. Like you had to go all out. Like we had the tracing boards and the light boards out, and we were hand like tracing
Whoa.
logos so that they looked exactly like a real logo. So it was really to, again, make sure that you were focusing on concept first. And then also it was kind of like a sneaky way to kind of work in that craft, because craft is a huge thing in our industry, especially as art directors. It's all about the craft. And so that was another way to kind of teach us craft as well. As like, yeah, you should care about these things. You should, put a lot of time into each little thing that you do and make it the best that you can. So that was kind of the first semester. And then after that, we broke off and people would take copywriting courses. I would take art direction courses, and then we would all again take another round of kind of like concepting. It was basically just portfolio building, where then we would kind of match up now that we had our copywriters and our art directors, and you would do the same process, but you would work together on a brief and make portfolio work. So that was what we did. It was a 2-year program. So once we got those intro to copywriting and art direction, we just then really focused on portfolio building and making our work. So we didn't have as dedicated copywriting and art direction classes as most portfolio schools do. Normally you take so many classes on that specific skill, but we just didn't have the time and the resources.
Right, the one
So
professor, the two
yeah,
professors.
exactly. So it was kind of like, again, it was like, here, we're going to give you this base knowledge, but then you're going to have to go out on your own and you're going to have to watch the YouTube videos. You're going to have to, we use a lot of, I'm blanking on the name, but it was this online site. A lot of people know, but the icon was yellow and black, and it was like this woman, something with a library, but it's like a little, I can't remember, but we would use that resource all the time. We had to watch all the videos on there.
Wow.
And yeah, so you kind of had to do a lot of it on your own.
That's wild. That's a really intensive program. especially for only
Hmm.
2 years, like that, learning a
Hmm.
whole craft in 2 years. That's wow, you really did that. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess maybe we should touch on what an art director is before we go any further.
Mm. Okay, yeah.
Could you define an art director specifically in the ad industry in like 2 sentences or three
Hmm.
sentences?
Ooh. Ooh, in three sentences, that would be hard. Okay. So an art director's job is to be a conceptual thinker and come up with ideas. And then from there, think through and work through all the visual solves and how to bring that to life and direct a team of professionals who are much better at your job than you are to help bring that vision to life, whether that be graphic designers, wardrobe directors, things like that.
That's cool.
I
So
don't
you're
know.
kind of that's perfect. That's
Okay,
perfect.
okay.
So you're like the puppeteer sounds sinister, but like you kind of are like the puppeteer of the you're like the creative mind behind it all. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Puppeteer, that is there's no other better way to put it, I
I
guess. At
know. I
least
was
I
trying to
can't
think of
I can't
one.
think of anything. But yeah, in a way, yeah, you kind of just help orchestrate the whole thing, which again, you're working also alongside your copywriter
Right.
and your creative directors as well. But yeah, your job as an art director, you kind of have to have a knowledge in a bunch of different little areas. You have to, have an eye for some graphic design, also have an eye for animation and an eye for set design and an eye for cinematography. So yeah, there's a bunch of different, elements and avenues that kind of make up an art director. And again, the best part is you don't have to be an expert in all these things because you'll work with the people who are the experts to bring it to life, which is the best part of the job. Like working with a talented director or talented designer, animator is the best. And so that again, like just working with them and kind of getting them to bring your vision to life is the better job. But yeah, a little puppeteer moment.
Yeah, or jack of all trades. We can do
Yeah,
that. Or like a
yeah,
little bit of both. That's really great.
yeah.
I think that's what attracted me to the workshop in art direction. I think I listened to a podcast about art direction. I mean, art direction with outside the ad industry is like a huge, there's so many places you could go. And I think I saw art direction in like editorials first that really like
Hmm.
caught my eye. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. People get to be like image makers and really communicate through visuals, which is like one of my favorite things ever. And then coming across the workshop, a fellow student in one of my classes actually told me about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what? There's a free like apprenticeship like to be an art director. Like that's really cool. And I applied and got in. And before we kind of talk about the process, you're a co-founder of the workshop. Can you talk a little bit about what the workshop is and actually how you started it? I'm interested to hear how you started it and how you came up with the idea.
Yes, I would love to share that. So, like we talked about before, kind of how I broke into the industry was a little weird. I kind of stumbled upon it but was still lucky enough to discover it while I was an undergrad. So, got to learn about advertising in that way while I was still in school. And my partner, who is also the co-founder of the workshop and also my work partner as well, Mary, we went to school together. So we actually met at school in this program together. So she had a very similar beginning as well into the industry. She just kind of stumbled upon it as well. So because we stumbled into the industry and then after we graduated, we met with so many students and or even just other individuals just out in the world. And they would say, oh, I just learned about advertising, or I just, found out you can be an art director or copywriter. I just learned about this. How do I get into this thing? Like a very similar story to yours as well, James. Of just how do I learn about this? How do I break into this? We just ran into that over and over. And the answer would always be, well, you can go very, very far in debt and go to portfolio school and spend a lot of money and do that, which is great. Um, or you can build your book on your own, which it is free, but it's really hard. And it's hard not only just because it's your time that you're dedicating to that, you have to be super passionate, but if you don't know anything about the industry, you kind of don't know where to start. You don't know how to, make a brief for yourself or find products or maybe even know how to concept. things like that. So it can be really, really challenging. And so that's why after we kind of had all these talks with different people, we were like, wow, we should do something. We should make something where we could try to bring together, these people who want to learn more about this industry and people in the industry who have such great knowledge and are so talented, and bring those two together and kind of essentially organize mentorships to these people where they can learn about this and build a book and kind of have very dedicated time. Because you could always, reach out to people. Like Twitter is a great place. You can always reach out to people in the industry there and be like, hey, can you help me? Can you look at this? But a lot of the times it's not like, it's kind of like a one-time meeting. It's not necessarily like a dedicated kind of teacher apprentice relationship. And so really what we wanted to do with the workshop, so it's a 100% free mentorship program for people who are looking to make a career pivot into art direction or copywriting. So yeah, we just we have so many great friends in the industry, and also just other amazing talented people out there that want to help others. And so we get a group of teachers who apply for the workshop that want to dedicate their time to helping people learn. And then we also get apprentices who apply to the program as well, who are, again, looking to make a pivot. And we basically kind of take all those people and pair them up together so that they have a team of a copywriter, art director, and an industry professional as their teacher. And then they all work together to learn and to build a book, which is the only goal in the end, is to kind of know how to concept and build all these pieces to make a book to hopefully get a job.
Yeah, that is a great explanation. The workshop is a really cool opportunity. I was in it this last spring 2022
Mm-hmm.
semester,
Mm-hmm.
on top of my college, and it was a lot of work, but it was great that it was free. I've had some internships that were free, and wasn't really free. It was me putting money into the
Mm-hmm.
internship, and I was really discouraged by internships. So when this free kind of form of education came along, it was hard for me not to go for it. And it was a really cool experience to meet to get into an industry without getting into an industry. You get all the
Mm-hmm.
people, you get all the resources, you get all the knowledge, but you don't have to, the door's already open for you, which is really amazing. So you can look at it. It's kind of like a museum. I got to like look at it and interact, but I didn't have to really like put myself into it all the way, which I really appreciated. And the next question, I just want to know like what your process was for picking students in, like, do they have to have some creative background? What is that like?
Yeah. So, well, funny that you asked that question, because in the beginning, because Mary and I, we are just creatives. We have
Yeah.
no, we took no business schools, no anything like this. Like all of this kind of administration element is way out of our comfort zone. And so when we first started the workshop, we had over like 170 apprentices apply.
Wow.
And because we were just so excited and there was such a big, we were like, let's just accept them all. Let's just do it. Let's just do everyone. And we
Oh,
didn't we didn't think that through very well, because not only was it people applying that live in the States, but there were people internationally that were applying as well, which is great. But we just did not even think about like time zone conflicts and just
yeah.
like how to organize a group for our first time, such a large group of people. So that was really hard. So in that next semester, which was the one that you were a part of, James, our goal was really like, still wanted to have as many people as we could. Like we try not to turn people away, but we really wanted to focus on people who had absolutely no background in this industry. Those are kind of the people that we kind of prioritize, just because in that first round, we let everyone in. We had people apply that had already gone to a portfolio school. So our program really wasn't that beneficial for them, because we're trying to teach that very entry, basic level kind of thinking and process, which they had already learned. So that's why we really try to prioritize people who have absolutely no knowledge. So you don't even have to be a painter in a past life. Like, just what if you have absolutely no connection to the industry or anything like that, like that's kind of who we prioritize. And then even from there, people who, maybe they started out in social before, or they were in content before, and they really wanted to kind of become an art director or a copywriter. And so, it's again, people that don't necessarily have the tools or the knowledge to kind of start doing this and learning and building their book is kind of who we look at when we accept applications.
That's great. That's awesome. I think a lot of industries are hard to tap into, especially from my point of view, coming out of college and looking for jobs and like surveying the workforce. A lot of things are hard to tap into, and it sounded like the ad industry is also very hard to tap into as well. So creating that platform for people who aren't usually accepted into the industry is, I mean, there should be more of it. So I think you all are really leading the charge in that, and I think that's really great. And that's another reason
Oh,
why I was like, this is a good program because like it's something I would sign off on too. Like that's really great. So
oh, thanks, James. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, we have such a heart for it. And advertising is an industry where it is super tough to break into because, again, not a lot of people know about it. Like, not a lot of people have, know that this avenue exists. And then once they do, it's a huge hurdle to overcome because it's like, I build a book. It's like, what's a book? What does that even mean?
right.
Like just all the lingo. There's just so many layers to this industry. So yeah, we love to help anyone that we can break in because we need more people. We need more people from diverse backgrounds and different thinking because we've got too much of what we already got. We need something new and fresh.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like advertising is a constant battle to be new and fresh. And so it's
Hmm.
interesting that like the powers still stay the same, which you would think things need to like change. So that's great that you all are starting that. Have you been seeing in other areas of the advertising agency like other people following suit, or has it been pretty sterile?
Yeah, well, there really has been a lot. I think a lot of people there are tons of people in this industry who are compassionate and want to help others, and I think we're actually seeing a lot of people kind of stepping up and trying to help others kind of break into this industry. Like the Kennedys at Wide McKinney is a great resource and program where they take in these people who also have no kind of knowledge of the industry. Maybe they were painters in a past life, or they were poets, or they were other people just doing other cool creative jobs with cool thinking, and they take those people and they bring them into this program and teach them about advertising and you know kind of introduce them to that. So that's a great program. There's a lot out there that are trying to make a difference and try to get more people from diverse backgrounds into this industry. So there really is like a huge, I would say, or not huge, but there is a surge, or I don't even know if that's a word. There's a huge
I
there's
get what you're saying. There's like
okay.
a shift happening. Like,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
huge shift. Yeah, there's some passion and some heat kind of bubbling up around this where there are people who are dedicating their time and energy to help others. So it's really cool to see.
That's great. That's awesome to hear. I guess we can switch to kind of like the creative process of art direction. Um, let's see, I'm trying to figure out where we start because it's a long process of going from beginning to getting your like your concept and everything to concepting and then to like the finished project. First of all, can you tell me what your favorite project has been that you worked on as an art director?
Ooh, okay. Another great question that you asked because it's actually something that I'm currently working on right now that hasn't been released yet, but it should get dropped, I think sometime around September,
Okay.
October maybe. But it's so I can't say too much,
Right.
but it has been, I mean, it's been my dream. Like it's comedy, which is something that my copywriting partner Mary and I love. We want to do more of. And then the art direction for this spot is like, oh my gosh, it was just a dream to work on. It's like very moody and it's got a bunch of layers of like just beautiful textures. And it was a dream to work on. Like normally I feel like the day-to-day art direction stuff that most art directors do, we don't get to go crazy and kind of do like the crazy fun stuff. It's normally like, okay, I'm gonna make a banner ad today or a social post, which is great, but it's not as like the dream of when you picture I'm going to become an art director, I'm going
Right.
to do this. That's not normally day to day. So this project was like all my dreams coming true. And it was with amazing clients who are so trusting and just have a huge appetite for wanting to make really fun creative work. So that was super refreshing as well. So it was like just the perfect blend of all these little things coming together. And that was my project. But yeah, can't say too much yet.
That's
But
okay.
that's been my favorite, hands down.
Awesome. That sounds really good. I'm excited to see what it looks like in September and October. Has it been filmed yet? Can you tell me that?
It has. So I
Okay.
actually just got back from that. That's what I was in the edit for last week, and then
Okay.
we were shooting the week before. So
Cool.
yeah, just got it shot and edited. We have our rough cut locked, so that's great.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. So are you in the the editing and in the shoot? Like, are you in the shoot too? Like, are you present for all
Mhm.
that?
Yeah. So
Cool.
I'm there for the shoot as well, and then the edit. Yep. So there
That's awesome.
for both of that. It's
That's
awesome. It's the best part of the job, and it doesn't happen often, but it is the best part.
that's great. So I guess we can run it back now to like the process of an art director in advertising, along with your copywriter. If we could give us like the steps of what like one project looks like, and kind of walk us through that, just to give everyone a little taste of art direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I'll just do it based on this project that I just spoke about because it's super fresh on my mind. But basically, how it goes is you will be given a brief from your strategist and your account team, and it'll have an insight. And so from there, myself and my copywriting partner are working together to come up with ideas around that insight or that thinking. It's usually like a statement, kind of just to help you kind of light a spark in your brain. And so we'll come up with a bunch of ideas, and we will then meet with our creative director who will review those ideas. They will kill some ideas. They'll let some live. They'll say, you need to work on this. This is good, but you need to push it a little harder. Where else could it go? What's a different way about it? So you'll do multiple rounds of that, like several rounds of just refining those ideas, getting better. Then from there, you'll have internal reviews where you bring in those strategists and those account people, and they will review the ideas and kind of give their thoughts and their like, oh no, I don't think we should do this, or oh, this is really great, but what if you did this? And so again, it's kind of more of that revision and refinement. And then once finally an idea is chosen, from there you go into the production stage. So for us, we were working on TV scripts. So we were concepting for funny ideas for some scripts, and we would write scripts, and we would think about how these could look and all that kind of stuff. And finally, once that one direction was chosen, that's when we really started to kind of hone in on our idea, hone in on our craft, and write the best scripts that we could, really push all the art direction and what are some of the camera movements that we can do, like how can we make this really interesting. So we always start really big, and then again from there things kind of similar to like the concept stage, they kind of start getting little down and little down and little down until you finally kind of have your overall direction, which includes your scripts, your look and feel, kind of your overall just I guess picture of how you see this coming to life. And then from there, we work with producers to reach out to directors, since we were working on video, and we send our idea off to tons and tons of directors and to see if any of them would be interested in partnering with us. And the ones that are, they will send us what's called a treatment. And so they will kind of put their own spin on things. So they would look at our scripts and look at our, visual direction and all that, and kind of be like, okay, yeah, this is great. I love this. But have you thought about if you did this? And so again, it's just more of that kind of like big thinking to refinement to refinement to refinement. And so we would look through all these director deals and their treatments, and you ultimately get narrowed down to usually about 3 directors, which you present to your client. So we would have a favorite based on like, how they treated the script and the dialogue, and what was their vision for the sets, like how are they going to look, how are they going to make them interesting, what's the cinematography like, are they going to do like really interesting like angles and push-ins, or are they going to do more like wide shots and quick zooms or things like that. And so you're kind of trying to decipher which director that you are working with has the best vision to kind of bring your stuff to life. And you find a director and you present it to your client. Hopefully they approve and they're like, yeah, let's do this thing. Let's do it, which is what thankfully happened to us. We got to work with an amazing director. And from there, then you kind of, again, just almost do it all over again, but in a more kind of refined way. Like, okay, now we're really making the hard decisions. All of this has kind of been like a big, like just thought that was just kind of floating out here. But now like, okay, we're going to make it real. So from there, it was me, getting images. Okay, this is what we're thinking of. We're going to paint the walls this color, and we're going to do this cool stencil art here. We're going to use, we've got these cool like mosaic glass stained windows that we're going to put. Like, what do you think about that? Here's some rug choices. Here's some furniture. Like, so it's like going in and picking all the fine little details, and working again with your director and with your partner and your creative directors to kind of do that well. And finally, you kind of get this overall vision, and then you go shoot it. And then
That's awesome.
From there, you edit. So yeah, I hope that may have been a little too vague. I don't know.
No,
but,
that was perfect. Yeah, that
okay.
the A to B to C to like the whole alphabet you touch on, like that.
Yeah.
It's a whole process. But how does it feel to like I think all artists and creatives always have an idea, and then it's like the hardest thing is to make it into fruition. How does that feel to like it's your job to make it a fruition? Like you have to, how does that feel though? Like when your idea becomes a reality?
Oh, well, when it becomes a reality, it's like, it's, you just can't believe it. Like, wow, okay, it's happening. And I feel like the whole time you're even like, well, something could happen. It's not gonna see the light of day. Like there's always just that like kind of doubt, because like you said, in our job, we make and make and make all day long and constantly, but there's most of the time that stuff never gets made, or someone else's idea gets chosen over yours. So there's a lot of times you make with kind of no end result, and so when it does finally get to that end, you're always still kind of like, well, something could happen, and the client could decide, actually, we're not going to pursue this any longer, so we're going to halt everything and use this money elsewhere. Like you're just kind of always ready for like, okay, what's going to be the worst? It's such an amazing feeling. Like when we were on that set getting that made, Mary and I were constantly having to be like, you're going to have to pinch me. Like, I can't believe we're sitting here and we're doing this right now. Like, this is just crazy. It's just so much hard work that goes into it. And it feels so rewarding to be there and actually getting to make it. So yeah, it's a crazy, cool kind of relief feeling, but then also you're just like waiting for the foot to drop, because there's always got to be a little drama, but
we love a little drama.
Yeah, there's got to be something, but not always. But yeah,
that's good. I guess I kind of want to touch into like your creative battery for like advertising, since we are in like a super capitalistic consumeristic society, and creatives tend to be really driven hard in our society to really pump out and work. I think in the workshop, having a mentor who was amazing, Morgan was like the best. She was super cool, taught us a lot. But she was working really hard, and like she's really good at what she does, but I think seeing her doing her work while helping us was a big factor into me being like, do I want to go into this field or not? And she was doing I don't know if I can say what she was doing, but she was doing a really cool project for one of the biggest artists, singers, entrepreneurs on the planet. And it was just really crazy to see like her go through that, and also really inspiring and great. Can you talk a little bit about how kind of mental health, creative battery, what is that like? How do you keep it up in this kind of job that you're in?
absolutely. That is such a important point to bring up, is that advertising is very notorious for being a very work hard. You stay up late, you stay till 3 a.m. till you get the idea right. And if you're not working late, then you're not really working hard, which I do not believe in at all. I think like you can't come up with ideas when you're drained and you're overworked and you're exhausted. That's just not possible.
Right.
So yeah, it can be hard. And I think, some places are better at it than others. I think Barkley specifically has been really great about making sure that we're taking care of our mental health and taking time off. I mean, for the first time ever, I had my creative director messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I noticed you hadn't taken a vacation in a while. So in the next weeks, like go get something booked and
That's
go take some
awesome.
time off." So yeah, so that helps me as a creative just be able to like not have to worry about, oh, if I take a vacation, are they going to think I don't work hard? Like that's such a dated mentality. It's like, no, you need rest to be better at your job and be the best, your best self. And so it's super helpful when your company and your creative directors also have that same thinking as well, because they help make a path for you to do so. So that's super helpful for me just to be able to recharge my battery. That's been a huge priority here at Barkley, just to take time off and relax and unwind. So that helps a lot. And again, there's other places. I think that's super important. If you are somewhere like you're applying and you're about to, jump into the industry, like really kind of, digging in deeper with people that you're interviewing of like, hey, what's your work-life balance like? Like, oh, have you taken some fun vacations here? And just kind of like poke to see like, are these people like, taking a break from the industry? Because also as well, like if you are just way too in the world of advertising constantly, then I feel like you all just kind of start thinking the same thoughts and the same work gets done because
Right.
you're just all consuming the same thing 24/7. So, I mean, even just to make the work better, you need to get out there and go someplace new and see new things just to get new ideas and refresh. So, yeah, I'm a big proponent of protect your mental health, take some breaks, and try to find a place where that's a priority as well.
Yeah, that's great. I think that goes for everyone, but especially that's good that you are like supported in that way at your company.
Mm-hmm.
That's really great. Um, if you weren't switching gears a little bit, if you weren't in the ad industry for art direction, what would you want to do with your creativity?
Mm. I so there's two things. One, I always thought it would be super fun to work in a museum and kind of like just be around and like set up exhibits and things like that. Like I always thought that was cool, and that was kind of I'd wanted to do that before I even learned about advertising. I just always thought that was super cool. But now having worked in advertising for a while, a career path that I'd love to do would be to be a director. I think that would be the
Cool.
coolest job in the world, and to like work on a show or a movie and get to do that side of creativity. Like, oh, that's my dream. That's what I would absolutely love to do. If I didn't get here, isn't doing this, maybe even later down the road, would love to do that.
That's awesome. Do a lot of people pivot? So the workshop is made for people to pivot into the ad industry. Do a lot of people pivot like do they flip flop? Do they get out of the ad industry? Like, does that happen a lot?
Oh, totally. I think that totally happens because, like we just talked about, people get so burnt out. They just
Right.
get so overworked that they're like, I can't do this another second. And just all the other bullshit that kind of you deal with on a day to day. It's like, I just can't take it anymore. So it's funny when we were actually talking with directors, we talked with one who used to work in the ad industry. She used to be a creative director and was now a director. So she pivoted and did that course. So there's so many people who pivot, and even just within the industry themselves, maybe they started as copywriters, art directors, and then they wanted to go more into like social and content, or they wanted to become account directors or things like that, like, or strategists, I think is a super common pivot. So yeah, pivot happens all the time in this industry just because again, it's it can be super
Yeah,
exhausting. So it's sometimes can't be sustainable for a long time. So yeah, that's totally normal to see.
understandable. Yeah, that's cool that that the industry allows that you're like you can jump back and forth.
Right.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because it gives you a good base knowledge into kind of all these different avenues. So it is super helpful to kind of start. And then, like I said, like I probably wouldn't have really thought about becoming a director until working in advertising and working with directors. I was like, oh wow, okay, this is super interesting and something I would want maybe down the road. So yeah, it for sure opens up doors to just different careers that are out there.
That's awesome. That's cool. I guess kind of my last question is what where do you want to see your work go in the future? Like at the apex of your career. If it's already happened or you're at it right now, that's cool too. But where do you want to see, do you have a dream you said you just did your dream project, but if you have like another dream project, where do you want to see your work go?
Ooh, that's such a good question. So I think my dream is I really want to work on like big brands and work on comedy spots and work on just like fun, smart, entertaining work that I'm trying to think. Yeah, like just I just want to. This is gonna sound kind of lame, but I just want to do more projects like this. Like that's my
Cool.
dream. But like to do it on just bigger brands that more people will see and do it in just more interesting ways than kind of like comedy, especially. Which it's changed a lot in the years, but it's obviously um, very known to be very male dominant.
Right,
So
right.
and they can have a lot of stereotypical humor as well and offensive humor as well. And so I think my dream is just to do comedy for big brands and do it in really interesting, smart ways that we haven't seen before. So that would be kind of my dream.
That's awesome. That's cool. I was looking at your like portfolio on your website a couple of days ago just to like get refreshed about it. And the way that you and Mary are just like geniuses when it comes to like comedy of advertising is it just like I literally would just sit there and laugh. Like I would just scroll through your stuff and just like laugh. So I think y'all are definitely like on your way. That's so cool. Um, and then my last kind of question is what advice would you give to people who are coming into the ad industry or have hopes to be an art director, aside from joining the workshop, of course, which would be the number one thing?
Let's see. Advice. I would say if this is something you are super passionate about, my biggest advice would just to be to not give up because it can get super daunting. Like we talked about, this industry is super hard to break into, and you have to, learn all these niche kind of things that aren't taught usually in like your everyday life. And so I think my biggest advice is just to keep persevering. I fully believe like if you're passionate and you really, really want to do this, like I fully believe that you can make that possible. Like there's been so many, students that we've talked to where they're like one in particular, I'm thinking about that Mary and I are friends with, that she would kind of text us and update us on her daily journey with, her interviews. And she'd be like, okay, today I have an interview with this place and this place. And like would get our thoughts and would tell us kind of about how it would go. And it would be like, okay, that didn't work out. That one didn't work out. We're like, it's okay. Like you're going to get plenty more. Like you're smart, you're talented, you're amazing. Like something will work out. And, she'd be, okay, I'm applying to another place today. Like, oh, I have this interview today. I have this interview. And she would do it. And again, it would be like, that didn't work out. That didn't work out. That didn't work out. And it can be so hard. But then at the end of it, she was like, okay, I've got this interview at this one place. We'll see how it goes. It was kind of like, well, like I've been on this journey for a while now. So it's getting brutal out here. And she ended up getting a job in an amazing shop. And it was so
Wow.
exciting. And it was so, so, so exciting. And so it fucking sucks to have to keep doing that. And it can be a really brutal industry. Like it just kind of feels like you're getting beat down constantly, whether it's in the applying realm, like even just trying to break in, or even when you are in the industry and you're competing against other teams with your ideas and just things like that. It's a really brutal, tough industry. But if it's something that you're passionate about, I just say keep going and keep fighting, because I mean, it's the best job in the world to me. I mean, I love it. I can't believe I get to do this every day. Like I come into work and I'm like, I can't believe today I'm going to think on silly ideas for some gummy bears. Like that's what I'm going to get paid to do today. Like that's crazy. So yeah, but it just takes a lot of hard work and a lot of perseverance to get through it, because it can be really tough.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's some really good advice. I definitely hear you on that. I'm listening for sure.
Yeah.
What my very, very last question, where can people find you? Where can they find your work? Yeah.
Yeah. So Mary and I have a website called itslarry.com. So you can find our work there. And then I'm on Twitter as well, which The username is kind of long and complicated, but it's like La La Lauren with a bunch of little extra letters in there. But maybe if you search Lauren Meadows, you can find me there.
I'll put it in the
Oh,
description. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No
oh,
worries, no
perfect,
worries.
perfect, perfect. But yeah, but again, I myself and Mary as well, we're so passionate about helping other people. Like if there's anyone out there that needs advice or just wants to chat or pick my brain about anything, like I'm an open book. So always reach out to me. And I can also give James my email too, where you can hit me up and ask questions as well. But yeah, always down to help and give advice however I can.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being on. This season, this is the second season of my show, and I really wanted to kind of push outside of where I've been before and push outside with mediums, and art direction is something that I've always really been in awe of. So I want to thank you so much, and of course, thank you for the workshop and what you do there is super, super cool. So
Oh, thank you. Well, I just want to thank you because you kicked ass in the workshop. I mean, your work was so great. So I mean, I can't wait to watch your career and watch how it blossoms and see what you do because you're going to do amazing things. So super
thank
talented,
you.
super happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. This has been The Creatives with Lauren Meadows. If you love the podcast, if you're listening, give us a like, a rate, a comment, tell your friends, send this to your friends. And if you all know anyone who wants to be on the show, that you love their work and you want me to pick their brains a little bit, let me know, DM me. All right. Thank you all for listening. Bye.